It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
You're knowing what you are wanting.
Yes.
You know what you are wanting relative to your life in general.
Yes.
Stretched out there a ways, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You have a picture of that? Not so specific, but you know generally, don't you?
Yes.
You want to live happily ever after. You want to thrive. You want to feel good in your body. You want to maintain good relationships. You want your financial picture to continue to expand. You want a sense of well-being, security, financial security. You have a sense of how you want to live, what your lifestyle will be, how you will feel in your body, comfortable in your environment. Yes?
Yes.
You have a sense of what you would like your life to be in the next 5 years?
Yes.
That causes a more specific focus, doesn't it? What comes more into focus as you say that? In other words, does finance play a bigger role? Did that sort of loom up a little bit when we talk about 5 years instead of 20, 30, 40, 50? 5 years. It did. It made you sharpen your focus a bit more, didn't it? It's a smaller segment, and therefore it requires, or naturally just draws from you more specifics. So 5 years, what does 5 years do to you? More specific financial abundance, yes? More specific sharpening of relationships, yes? What about 1 year? When you think about 1 year, when you think about a segment of 1 year ahead of you, what does that do? Does that sharpen your focus still further? And in the process, now, which felt more comfortable? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? 5? Next year, my intentions for next year are, what happens to you viscerally when you do that? It causes a sharpening, but what happens is, the more specific the segment that you focus upon, the more your resistance, if there is any, shows itself a little more. So, what about the next year? What do you want? We've been saying to you, some of you have been hearing us for a long time, and we say, we are extremely pleased that you are here. You are knowing what you are wanting. And then we say, almost always, those desires that are not yet fulfilled are still pleasing to you. And usually, whether you admit it or not, we feel great vibrational discord within you. And the reason that we're asking these questions the way we have today is because we realize that when you think about what you want in general, you are less resistant. The more specific you get, the more resistant you become. And the art of allowing really is about being able to focus in a long-range view, in a medium-range view, in a more specific view. What do I want in the next year? What do I want today? What are my intentions for this day? What are my intentions for this segment? A new segment, you know what a new segment is? A new segment is any time your intentions vary from the segment that you're standing in. In other words, walking into a new segment, what's changed? When I get into my automobile, does the segment change? When I answer the telephone, does the segment change? When I'm sitting here in a gathering like this, does the segment change? And so, as you begin to realize that in every moment, whether you're thinking 20 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 1 year down the road, what will happen today, what's happening now, whether you are thinking about your future segments or your past segments or your present segments, you are managing your vibration. You have a mix of vibrations going on that law of attraction is responding to. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would be focusing our mind into long range, medium range, short range segments. But in doing all of that, we would have one intention in mind. And that is, how can I focus in a way that right now feels the best to me? If you're thinking 20 years down the road and it feels far and therefore free, take that feeling of freedom and bring it into whatever segment you're focused upon now. If you're thinking about 1 year down the road, or if you're thinking about how you're going to pay your house payment this month, or if you are sitting to pay your bills right now and you realize you don't have enough money, you need to do something about melding the medium range and long range intentions so that you give yourself some breathing room. Because the universe does not know or care if the vibration that you are emitting is about a reality that you're living, if it's about something that you're speculating. Esther was watching a movie not too long ago, lying in bed. Jerry had fallen asleep. He could tell by the music he wasn't going to like it. And Esther had got sucked into it because it started out happy and she liked the characters, and then she got intrigued. Little did she know that terrible things were going to begin to happen to them, but now she was hooked and she had to see it out, or at least that's what she told herself. And so as she was lying there in the bed, she began feeling her heart pounding as if she was living this herself. The universe does not know if Esther's vibration or yours is because of something you're living or because of something you're imagining, whether it's a real threat or an imagined threat, whether it's a past worry or a future worry. In other words, the universe is only responding to your vibrational output now. Now. Your point of attraction is now. All of your power is now, whether you're focused past, present, or future. So what we are encouraging is that you begin to vibrationally impact your now by using a series of future segment intending. A sort of wouldn't it be nice if scenario that you start with long range, medium range, short range, shorter range now. And as you begin to play with this, you'll begin to recognize that you have absolute power, control over your mix of vibrations. Now, do you know what your mix of vibrations is about? Certainly you get the sense that some of it is about what you're focused upon now. But we want you to understand that when we talk about how you are focused, we're talking more than about how you are focused in your body right now, this red hot minute, as you are thinking past, present, or future, from the format of your physicalness as you know yourself to be. In other words, the personality that you know as you is certainly some part of you that is focusing, but the you that you know as you in this physical body is a leading edge extension of a much broader you. In fact, a much more stable you, a much more secure you, a you that is healthy, wealthy, and wise. In other words, the non-physical part of you that is well-being. Now, if you play this right, and many of you are beginning to do this, you can be in your physical body the personification of that source energy, that healthy, wealthy, wise, non-physical energy. In other words, you, in all of that which you have lived, have become this source energy. You might call it soul. Some call it soul. We call it inner being. Some call it God self, God source. That non-physical part of you is the culmination of that which you have lived. And here you are as a leading edge extension, taking that part of you further. You get that? So many physical humans don't get that. It is such a basic flaw in human reasoning. They think that God is complete and finished and perfect, and that you have been sent here as some substandard version of that. Here being tested and tried in order to suffer enough that you somehow prove yourselves worthy in your suffering. Get that? It defies every law of the universe as we know it to be, but so many believe that you are here to suffer yourself into well-being, as if that were even a possible thing. Instead, you are source energy expressing yourself here in this physical body, expressing yourself out there 20, 30, 40, 50 years, expressing yourself today, expressing yourself in this minute. And the thing that we want you to get from this is that in this minute, you are expressing the next hour and the next day and the next year and the next 5 and 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 years. In other words, you are pre-paving a course now. And you can tell by the way you feel how you're doing. The reason you can tell by the way you feel is because this vibration that is you, this extension of source energy that is you are focused here in this physical body, but the broader non-physical part of you is focused also. So when life causes you to identify what you don't want, in the same moment it causes you to identify what you do want, what you prefer. Sometimes it's a big preference, sometimes it's a small preference, but life causes you to have preferences. It's the expansion of the universe. It's how all that is continues to become more. So your life causes you specifically to prefer something more, and whether you speak about it, whether you're even consciously aware of it or not, as life causes that to happen, the non-physical part of you, that source energy part of you, that, remember, has extended itself or expressed itself here into this physical body that is you. Now this physical body that is you is having a new preference that is born, and source goes there too. In other words, talk about staying right up with the leading edge. That's what source does. Source always rides that leading edge. So source becomes that leading edge you. So when you don't have enough money and you want more money, source recognizes that you want more money and becomes vibrationally at one with that idea of more money. The question is, what's happening to you? Now, the contrast usually causes you to want more money, and immediately the desire for more money is born within you, or more of anything. We're just starting there because it's the dominant vibration of desire in every room. Eventually you'll get over that as you realize that that's a given. Your dominant desire will be alignment, but for now, so here is this desire for dollars, and source immediately becomes one with that idea for dollars. The question that we want to put to you is, what are you doing with your focus relative to this desire that your life has just caused you to give birth to? And we have to tell you that most of you, even though your experience has caused you to prefer or desire more money, and even though the larger part of you has gone to that and become a vibrational match to that more money, most of you are still beating the drum of not enough money. So your life has done for you what you knew it would do. It has provided a format that caused you to focus, that caused you to cause an expansion of the universe on your behalf. You said, I prefer this. And source, who in its infinite wisdom knows that no one would know better on the leading edge what's better for the leading edge perceiver who's out there perceiving on the leading edge than the leading edge perceiver out there perceiving on the leading edge. In other words, there's no point in someone, that's sort of like, have you ever had a job where you're doing the work and somebody, Jerry and Esther checked into a campground last night before, and they could not find it in the KOA, Campground of America book, even though it's been there before. It's not in the new book. And so they said, well, maybe they're not a Campground of America campground anymore. And so they looked in their Woodall's directory, and there was an 800 number, and when they called it, it was a KOA directory number saying, this campground is no longer part of our network. Essentially, you're on your own. So Esther called information. They couldn't find them. So they finally just ended up driving there because they knew where they were. And fortunately, they had a space for them. And Esther said, you're getting a little hard to find, you know. Information doesn't know about you, and the KOA directory doesn't know about you. And he said, we've been part of the KOA network for 30 years. And in 30 years, the head office only came to see us once. And yet they want to tell us how to run our campground from Billings. Very unsatisfying to him. That they're telling him what they need to do and how they need to run their campground when they've never even stood on the ground at the campground. It doesn't seem like they would be the ones making the best decisions, does it? And in a similar example, we know you have examples like that. The man upstairs, we don't mean that man, we mean We mean the one who signs your paycheck, who wants to micromanage what you are doing. When you know what you are doing, you have figured out the best way to go about what you are doing. And certainly you want to integrate that broader view. But there is so much to be said for that hands-on view.